Okay, we're live, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Thanks for joining our December meeting. Obviously, we won't be having the customary sloe gin or glass of mulled wine afterwards, or if we are, it will have to be distant. So thank you for joining. So item 1, please. Any apologies, Anita? I think everyone's on mute, including yourself, Anita. Sorry. That's it. Gotcha.
Okay, no apologies.
Apologies, thank you. And any declarations of interest, please? Okay, thank you very much. If anyone's wondering, screen share, the other participant is my other laptop, just so I can share documents, but also keep an eye on anyone wishing to intervene. Splendid. Right. Item 2, public session, questions sent in by the public. I think we have 1 or 2 people who'd like to join at this stage. Is that correct?
We've got Clive Curtis. That's the only one.
Okay.
I don't know whether Doug is. Oh, no. As if by magic. He's appeared as well.
Okay. Well, Clive was first in the queue, so we'll invite Clive to...
Well, I brought them both in, Chair, at the same time.
No, that's fine. So we'll just hear from Clive and then Doug, if you gents can both hear me. Clive, we can't see you. Hopefully we'll be able to hear you at least.
He hasn't got his mic on. He hasn't configured his mic, so he won't be able to speak.
Ah.
Hang on.
Anita, why don't you just get Clive to sit with you?
Right, Clive? I should have said that a bit more politely, shouldn't I? You've got to sit here because you've got the mic configured.
Am I live?
You are, Clive, yes.
Hello there. Right. I'd just like to make a comment regarding the plan application for a new dwelling at 18 Wood Street.
Yes.
I've got no problems with the actual dwelling itself. My comment is really to do with water. As you know, that the main water sewer pipe down Wood Street is at times not fit for purpose, and there's and so therefore, in my opinion, we should always be aware of putting more water into it. Now, this planning application is the planning application is to put all the water into the main water sewer, including a tarmac drive, which is going to be connected to number 20, which has a huge tarmac drive which slopes down onto Wood Street. Water surface problem in Wood Street, I don't know, but it could be. So what I'm saying is I would like to see the parish council insist that the dwelling is built with soakaways and a permeable drive which avoids water going into the main water sewer. I don't think that's a unreasonable request. I mean, you do actually get discount on your water rates if you have soakaways. But I think that it's something that's important and that should be considered by yourself.
Okay, well, thank you, Clive. I mean, we've I'm not going to bring that item forward, but we obviously have that item on the agenda tonight. It's the only planning application. So I can give you an assurance that we'll discuss that point, and that'll be made, on your behalf, and we'll discuss that with reference to the plan. So
Lovely.
Thank you for that.
That's fine. Yep, thanks very much.
Yep,
I'll bring the boss back.
Shall I go ahead, Chairman?
Just a second, Doug.
Thank you. Oh, your clerk to be in place.
Have you got all that, Anita?
Yes, I've got all that.
Right, no, it's good points there. So, Doug, please.
Yes, there's somewhere between comments and questions. The first one is on street lighting. I don't know whether there's a general degree of delay on street lighting repairs now, but there's one in Wood Street, which is close to where I live. It's opposite number 31. I don't know the numbers on the other side properly, which has been out for what feels like about a month. And the street lights are quite well stretched out, and it really is unfortunate that it's not working. The Christmas lights people have put up have made a slight difference, but that's hardly the point. So could I sort of note, could that one be noted, please? It's been rather a long time.
We are going to touch on it later, so we'll certainly note that, Doug, and there might be an action emanating. Thank you. Mark, I think, was going to come in.
I was just going to ask Doug if it's been reported. If it hasn't been reported, that's why it's taken a month.
Ah, well, yeah, I suppose people like me have forgotten that we have the responsibility to report these things, but need to be reminded where to now. I know the system's changed.
It's the same one, street. If you go to look for Street Doctor on NCC, you can report it there.
Okay. Well, if I do that, that may be helpful to you.
Yeah, the one I reported got fixed in 5-7 days. So.
Okay. Well, I'm happy to oblige then. Point number 2, if I may. Somewhat more general comment from recent heavy rains. I'm concerned that the street drains, the ones that have the metalwork in the curbs, and there's a lot in Wood Street, but a lot elsewhere too, still seem not to get maintained, and in many cases, I think, still have grass growing out of them. It was the case that up Stamford Road in the direction of Stannion, up the slope there was a good deal of work that seemed to be being done on similar drains, which was admirable, but they need maintenance. They can't simply be left abandoned. I presume it's the county council does that work, could they be prompted?
Mark, again, thank you.
Yeah, as far as I'm aware, they did them all during the summer, because I had to move my car a couple of times to allow them to get access.
I was not aware of work having been done across the village like Wood Street, though I'm obviously open to correction.
Peter wanted to speak, Chair.
Yeah, sorry, Peter, I missed that.
Yeah, it was to possibly endorse what Mark said there. We did do it through Victoria. She did get them out. They did spend 5 days doing all of the drains in the village. They were all marked with the white dot at the time. That's not to say that Doug's not correct, and maybe some have blocked up since then, but the frequency that they're scheduled for being revisited is comparatively long, and they wouldn't be due for a routine visit for quite some time now.
Well, fair enough. Could I just make one supplementary comment? There are 2 areas in the village where the water ponds badly. One is the well-known one on Kettering Road. I think that I remember from my time on the parish council, that was, I think there's a blocked pipe taking away the stormwater to the River Eyes, that perhaps was complex to repair.
Doug, I think Peter might have something on that. Sorry to interrupt you.
Not at all.
Yeah, we did specifically flag that one that Doug's mentioned there through Victoria to Highways, and I supplied them with photographs of the flood, and the fact I pointed out the fact that because of the width of that puddle, that vehicles were actually coming across to the centre line of the road, and it was actually making, in my opinion, a hazard on the highway. They had their inspector out and viewed it, and they stated they viewed it while it was in flood, and they didn't consider that it was a significant issue.
I would have totally disagreed, with great respect to them. My understanding was that it was as I say, the pipe work, the more distant pipe work is blocked somewhere, making it an expensive matter. I'm recalling my days on the parish council. And there is the other one very close to the application that was mentioned on Wood Street, just uphill of it. There's a large ponding happens at one of the grids, and most of the drainage is either extremely slow, or you have to wait for the water to go up and over the camber of the road and down the other side of the grids. So this adjoins the house that's the house plot that's the subject of your current application. It's something like number 20 or 18, I think. That's forever. That's a big pool, and people could get very wet if the cars go by carelessly.
Okay. And Doug, sorry, we'll just let John come in there, please.
I'm sorry if I was running.
No, but I think John may have something on this.
Thank you.
Yeah, Chair. I understand the schedule indicates that we may have to wait some time for the maintenance to be redone. I'm not happy about that, and I know we've expressed some dissatisfaction with that. I don't know if the county or the new unitary will understand the position of the village in terms of flooding and the difficulties that it causes here. So can we ask them to increase the number of visits or decrease the amount of time we have to wait? I understand that they may not do that, but I think we ought to be doing that, given what Doug's saying. And also, I think we really ought to express our concern around that ponding on Kettering Road, because I think most of us have seen it when there is a flood, and it's got to be dangerous. And I'm not happy for us as a parish council just to say, okay, so the county council says it's not dangerous. It is.
Would it make sense if we request just for those two that we get an extraneous visit, particularly at the start of the winter?
Yeah.
So the routine for all of the drains follows that routine, but we ask that those two specifically, because they do lead to immediate flooding, and that's the one on Wood Street and the one on Kettering Road.
The one thing just to add is the one on Wood Street. There is a poorness of the levels in the road, which the drain working fully won't remove. But on the other hand, the drain is impeding the first half of the drainage when it ponds. So it will help, but it won't cure, but it's necessary.
Okay. And sorry, Doug, I'm going to interrupt. I think Claire had a comment to make.
Yeah, apologies.
Yeah. Yes, I was just going to mention that the area on Wood Street, which pools, and there is no actual drain there. It's just the camber of the road that creates this big puddle. And, you know, it doesn't even take a huge amount of rain to create this.
Yeah. Yes, the puddle is slightly, the centre of the puddle is slightly downstream from the actual drain. There is one there. If it worked properly, it would drain the top half of the great puddle that accumulates. It would drain the lot.
Okay, so I'm going to, that's my suggestion, that we request Highways do an extraneous maintenance of those two locations. Does anybody disagree with that? We make that request, and obviously that we request they come out as soon as. It's just before Christmas, but let's see, Anita, if you don't mind making that request to them.
I'd like to make one slight suggestion on that. It's possible that what they actually need is a camera down the drain to see if there is a blockage.
Chair, can I just add, I remember David, you know, on the council, he complained about this some time ago, and he said what someone else has earlier said, that there's a problem under the street there. It's just not blocked. It sounds as if there might be some sort of collapse there. So yes. I think what Doug says about a camera is essential.
I don't believe you'll make any real progress otherwise. You won't get facts together.
It's a good suggestion. It's a good suggestion then, as you say, there's a potential for one or even both, that they spot something that then fixes permanently rather than keep sending somebody out all of the time. Thank you, Doug.
Thank you, and I'll shut up at that point. I'm grateful for your time.
No problem at all, Doug. As always, thank you for your observations and input. No, it is appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you.
Splendid. In that case, I think we'll move on to B then. Reports from county and borough councillors. Do we have anything from county, Anita?
Unfortunately, no. I ask her every time.
Okay. Mark, anything from borough?
Main thing that's going on at the moment is the budget consultation that started last week for the new unitary. The headline is that there'll be an increase or proposed increase of 3% for adult services. I keep getting them mixed up with adult and children, and 1.99% on the general council tax. So that's going through consultation at the moment. Other than that, things are winding down at KBC, except for planning and licensing, and scrutiny is going forward on proposals for the unitary.
Thank you, Mark. Any questions for Mark on those items or anything else at the borough level? Okay, thank you very much, Mark. Okay, let's move to item 3 then, minutes of the last meeting. So again, approval of the parish council monthly meeting draft minutes, and I'll try and share those on the screen. No, I think it's my sharing's disabled, Mark. If you're able to just activate that, please.
Okay, try again.
Yeah, there we go. Right. Just give me a moment, everybody. Right. Okay. So these were the draft minutes of the last meeting. Does anybody have any observations on those? John.
Yeah, under 1.6, is this accuracy really? I guess it is. Yeah. Under 166.21, there's a sentence, it is unlikely that a vote will be required. I don't think that's, I think it should be rephrased. I understand the comment is that it is comparatively unlikely that a parish council election will be held, but I don't think we should say it is unlikely that a vote will be required. And I'd suggest, although an election would be desirable, past history indicates that may be unlikely, something like that.
Sorry, can you repeat that, John? Sorry.
Well, what I suggest is, and I mean, people may want to rephrase it or not accept it, although an election would be desirable, past history indicates that may be unlikely.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? Anyone have any other observations on those minutes? Okay. Can I have a proposer to accept those minutes, please? Peter, thank you. And someone second, John. Sorry, I still can't, even though I'm sharing, I still can't see everybody. So that's proposed by John to accept, proposed by Peter, seconded by John. All those in favour? Okay. You got that, Anita?
Yep.
Great, thank you. Okay, splendid. In that case, we'll go to actions and matters arising from those minutes.
Sorry, Chair. I couldn't unmute myself. Obviously, I abstained from that because I wasn't at the meeting.
No, understood. And Paul as well. I think that's fine. I think we got a majority there. Thank you. Terry, can I just remark at this point, it's nice to see you and hear you. Actually, I know you've struggled with your.
Well, I guess your picture of me on your screen must be more attractive than it is to me at this end. But it's good to be on board anyhow. It did take a bit of doing. I don't think it's, it's just one of those things, because I've been in another few Zoom meetings and haven't had problems. And I was a bit late clocking in, and I sent you an email saying that as I went to clock in, the computer wanted to upgrade. So that made me late again. So my apologies. I'll shut up now.
That's fine. It's absolutely fine. Okay. No, that's great. Okay. So in terms of actions then, and any matters arising then. So again, please shout up, folks, because again, even though I've got two screens, I can only see one. So please shout up if I jump ahead too fast. So I believe action 1 was around the member of the public, the resident of Newton Road, bringing the issue of the parking to our attention. The action was, we decided the best thing was not to go public on Facebook, but just to send a polite note to everybody on Newton Road, just reminding them of why it's best to park on the road. Yeah, so that was done. I got that out and delivered, and I've had one or two nice notes back as well. And I think we've had one from the resident too, which is nice. So no negative backlash. It's always difficult in these situations to slightly play the policeman. Okay, action 2. Oh yeah, I think it's connected. Councillor Rowley will find out if blocked footpaths are part of the Decriminalisation Act, and if so, if it is, a warden asked to carry out patrolling in Geddington.
I did ask. It isn't. It's a police matter because it's obstruction.
Right.
So you have to report it on 101.
Okay. As far as I've seen since then,
Chairman, can I just ask that? In his email, David Hall sent in a series of photographs of cars parked across that pavement.
yes.
What are we going to do with them? Is the intention to pass those on to the police? Should
I
it?
don't think so. I think David. I think David was saying this is an example. This is the extent of the problem. I don't think he wanted, and we resolved to take those photos away. We did mention, I think, that there is an element of self-help with these things. Go and have a chat with your neighbour or report it. But I don't think we were left with an action to do anything with those pictures, other than.
Should we in the future? You know, we put out a note, but if people ignore it.
Go on, Mark.
Yeah, I think we agreed at the last meeting that we'd send the leaflet out, see what happened, and then if people still did it, then we'd report it. We'd give them a chance to actually acknowledge that we were concerned about it before we started action.
I've been up and down. Yeah, I think it was Mark. I mean, I've been up and down once. I've not been there all day, every day, but there seems to be one car almost at the Newton and near Mill Farm that still does it, but I'm not sure if that's so much of an issue for pedestrians. And there seem to have been some works going on at a bungalow near the end where occasionally I think a contractor had parked. But
I can tell you, Chairman, it does obscure the view round the bend as you go out towards.
Yeah. So that may need a rev up if need be. But other than that, I think the issues which were more towards the middle and the Geddington end, those seem to have been lessened. But we'll suck it and see if that has had the desired effect. Okay, moving on then. Trying to pick up the actual actions. Normally I highlight these. Yes, so I did send a note to Zurich to ask about this and put in this. This was all around consequential loss. We wanted them to tell us exactly what is meant by consequential loss, and then whether that's covered under our insurance. So I used one of their examples and one of my own to see if they'll come back and confirm that for us. And we're still awaiting a response, but I think we're discussing insurance later anyway. Okay, item 4. This is the social housing consultation. I think we've got this on the agenda, haven't we, John, this evening, and you've circulated some. Right. Again, the parking restrictions that we then dealt with. We dealt with that then at the emergency meeting. We'll cover that then. Second action 5. This was Phil offering the work on the pond, Anita. I presume you've thanked Phil for that and acknowledged.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Now, this is the top of Skeffington Close. Now, I can't recall, do we actually have this on the agenda this evening as a distinct item or not? Or do we cover it now?
Yeah, I'm sure it's on, isn't it? Perhaps I didn't put it on though because it was an actual action of the last meeting.
Yes, okay, that's fine. That's fine. I'll just Right, so I better cover this off now then. So, so this, of course, is the junction of Grange Road and Skeffington Close, and obviously we've got a double-edged sword there in that parking is in short supply up there. Local residents kind of have an arguable need for it. Unfortunately, that has churned up the ground there. But we acknowledge there is a need. It's trying to find a happy medium. So the action was, of course, Clerk to email Highways outline the requirements. So yes, this was to say, well, look, could we? Is there a potential here that we can? We're not asking you to pay for it. Could we get some form of hard standing? Could we do something there which might at least, you know, not take away any parking, but at least remove the fact that it's going to turn into the Somme? And Anita, I think you've written, but there's been a response. Literally, is that the one we've just got literally in the last few hours?
Yeah, we hadn't received that. It went off very early, actually, a couple of days after the November meeting, and we hadn't received a reply. So I sent quite a harsh one reminder,
Yeah.
and yeah, and we've got the reply today, which you know, I picked it up tonight when I logged on tonight.
Yeah, I'm looking for it. I don't have that handy, actually, Anita. So basically, unless I've got it wrong, what it said was that no, Highways wouldn't be doing anything like that. We can kind of make an application for double yellow lines, but what they don't want to do is to effectively sanction hard standing and actual parking because it's on a corner and it's on a bend. And that was I mean, Anita will circulate the note.
Yeah.
But that's what I took from it, Anita, unless you have anything different.
Yeah, no, that summarises it, yeah.
I mean, this doesn't resolve that problem at all. And I've got to be honest, I don't have an answer unless any other councillor has an idea of where we can go from here. Mark?
Can I just declare an interest, being as one of my cars is parked on there at the moment?
Sure. Okay, right. Sorry, John.
Yeah, I mean, it's what Highways are saying, that it's illegal to park on. I mean, obviously it is illegal to park so close, it's very close to a junction, but is all of that illegal? Because if that's the case, then we're a bit stymied, aren't we?
Peter. Gotcha.
Yes, they. I agree totally. That's exactly what they've said in this latest response we had just before the meeting, and it does essentially repeat the position that they had 2 years ago when we raised it. They again at that stage offered for consideration yellow lines in the same pattern. We had the same issue then, which is the question of, well, if we put the yellow lines there, it doesn't assist us from the point of view of creating any parking. In fact, it makes illegal the parking that is being that's carried out there anyway, because you're not allowed to cross yellow lines to go onto a verge to park. If we were to do that, then we're actually, as I say, imposing a regulation on the parking that happens there that says it shouldn't take place, but it does take place. So we are very much in a cyclic logic where we did what we said we should do at the last meeting, which was, okay, let's speak to Highways and see what options we've got. And essentially, they've come back and said, well, you don't have any. You know, you can't. You know, we would not allow or support it to be converted to parking because of its position. They did, in that response, say that we could look at some form of ground reinforcement, but that would still not be making it legitimate parking. They would still object to it being used for parking. So we have a reality that people use it for parking, and a second reality that there's nothing we can do to improve the situation.
No. David Watson.
Yeah, I actually think we've got a bigger problem. I'm sorry to raise this. They seem to be saying they would not sanction parking there because it's illegal, and therefore, and it's illegal because it's dangerous, because it blocks the views around the corner, etc., etc. And therefore, don't we have a risk issue if we do nothing about it, and there's an accident as a result of it being blocked, and we've done absolutely nothing about that parking there?
Then again, we're not Highways. it isn't a parish council responsibility. I concur that we've got some level of moral responsibility, but as a parish council, we have certain powers that we do have, and they do not include making changes to road layouts or verges.
No, I agree, but we do seem to ask highways to sort out other issues for us, like parking on verges and stuff like that. I just wonder whether we might be open to criticism if we don't refer it to highways and say, are you doing anything about this?
I mean, I've just found the email. It doesn't say this should not happen. It says it's not somewhere where we would likely to be able to provide formal parking spaces because these will encroach into the visibility display at the junction. I think they're effectively saying, then they're not saying, oh, they shouldn't be doing it. They're basically saying is that we can't be seen to be endorsing it or facilitating it by putting hard standing, which might be also the view of this council. I don't know. They said in some situations I might consider removing the verges to widen the path where funding available for this kind of work, but to not provide parking. So again, they've pretty much given us the situation back to us, effectively.
Yeah.
So this looks to me like one of those things. I just don't know what we could do to resolve it, John.
Yeah, and I think I'm just going to suggest something that we've thought of before and it's been rebuffed or discounted, and that's is there any possibility of using the area around the industrial units and getting an okay from, is it the borough on that? And I think we've tried that before and I think they've said no, but Mark will be able to help us a bit on that, I think.
Right.
Yeah, borough, it's owned by Bounton, run by borough. But last time we asked, oddly, the security company said no because it would open up their building to break-ins with the gate moved back. So without their approval, and it's their parking spaces that we'd be using. So they said no.
Okay. So where do we go, folks? Can we go anywhere at all? I'm not sure we can. Okay. Well, in that case, it looks like we can't. So I think we're just going to have to move on. If somebody has any resident or council has an idea in the meantime, we can discuss again. But I think at the moment, unfortunately, it's going to have to go into the unresolved file. Unfortunately. Okay. Let's move to action 6 then, GigaClear. So the work on Queen Street, no asshole information. Yeah, I think it just sounds familiar. We covered that. GigaClear to be contacted, ask them to leave information on Facebook as to what is happening in Queen Street and informing the residents' frustration with GigaClear. Okay. Anita, did you get a message to them?
I went to do it, but I think they emailed you, Peter, didn't they? Or the day after the meeting. Either they said virtually what I was going to ask them, or you asked them virtually what I was going to ask them. So I did still send
Yeah.
It was basically summarising what they'd already said to you or you'd already said to them. But it did go.
Okay. I've not seen anything at all from GigaClear, anything at all on Facebook now, apart from the odd defence from Liz on something specific or something. But Peter, sorry, did you have a point?
Yeah. The communication I got that I forwarded was essentially talking about the update on progress towards Newton and some other operational things. It wasn't specifically addressing the point about could Liz not be putting updates on Facebook. But if Anita's already also written about that, then that fulfills the outstanding
yeah,
action.
I mean, I can forward it on what I sent, but basically I covered it, but I thought yours had already said that, but perhaps not then.
All I had recounted was that they had said in the past that only Liz is authorised to put postings on Facebook.
Yeah. Yeah, I can forward it on to all, but I mean, I covered it, but I haven't had any reply come in at all to it.
Chairman,
Yes, David.
as you probably know, they're working in Newton at the moment. It's exactly the same as in Geddington. It's a hell of a mess. They blockaded off my drive this morning without any notification. The grocery delivery guy, I mean, had to park up in the village and carry all the groceries down to the house. I mean, their communication is just awful. And that idea that Liz floated, that they got this new method of using the BT trenches, of course they haven't. They've dug the whole bloody village up. And as you know, the roads are so tight. I mean, their communication is just dire. And I don't believe anything Liz tells us anyway.
Yeah.
It's very sad, very sad in terms of dealing with the public. It's just awful.
John.
That's exactly what we foresaw, isn't it? It's exactly what we foresaw in Newton. I mean, it would be worse in Newton than anywhere else because it's so constrained.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not difficult to communicate with the people of Newton. It takes 5 minutes to put a note through the door.
I think they're actually rude. I think they're rude and they're treating us with contempt. They're producing the product is good, I understand, but they are treating us and they're treating residents with contempt. I don't know what we can do about it, really.
Well, the question is that, well, do we now lodge a formal complaint and go a lot higher? Is there any point at this stage of the development, so to speak, or are we 95% done?
Well, they're going to be going to other places in the county, aren't they? So I think we owe it to everybody else to put in that complaint.
Well, they might be going to Little Oakley at some stage, so yeah. And they certainly haven't finished in Geddington and Newton.
Thank you, Chairman. I think we had an upgrade a couple of years ago, and I think that's as good as we're going to get. But we can't hope.
I think it will come eventually, Terry. I think it's statute. Claire.
Yeah, can I just ask, when they came to Geddington, we were consulted where the boxes were going to go within the conservation area. Have we done this for Newton as well? Because I can't remember.
No,
ever coming up.
Not that I'm aware of.
So are they just going to put them wherever they feel like?
Who knows? I don't know how many there will be. I suspect there might only be one, and I think they've put something underground at the entrance to the village, where the 30-mile-an-hour sign is.
Maybe that's enough.
Which
that'll be
there's been absolutely no consultation.
Well, sorry, Mark, before you say anything, I would say if they manage to do that, David, and get it underground, there's going to be a lot of residents of Geddington very, very annoyed because they were told specifically that.
I don't know whether that's just a base that they're going to build on top of, though.
It could be. Could be. Sorry, Mark, I put it in.
If it's underground, it'll be the splicing station where the two pieces of fibre optic cable have joined. It won't be the main control unit because that can't get wet.
Okay.
Yeah. No idea.
All right. The thing is, though, we send these complaints. Do we send them to the same people? Anita, how high have we gone previously? I mean,
we've sent them to Liz for communications. That's the highest, as far as I'm aware, that they've gone to. And they just come, there's a complete blank just once they get to her. Well,
I thought most of the role of most communication officers is to deflect criticism.
Yeah.
Liz is marketing, she's not communications.
Yeah, I know she said that she's covering communications because they haven't got I believe she said they haven't got a communications officer at the moment. That was about, I don't know, a month ago, 2 months ago.
So what do people think? Is it worth us making a formal complaint to them now?
I think, Sharon, we've made so many complaints that have actually produced absolutely nothing. I just, loath as I am, I'm inclined to say, let's just get it finished. I mean, we've got trenches all over the village at the moment. Don't bother coming down here, you'll be queuing.
There is that aspect, which is it may deserve it, but then, you know, does the work all stop? Oh, well, now we need to talk to you all individually.
Yeah.
Okay. If nobody feels strongly about it, then it is what it is. I think, you know, we don't like to comment on people's kind of commercial business plans here on this parish council. We end up doing it. But I think it's a PR disaster for them, because I think half the people don't take GigaClear because of the poor communication. And did they get that bit right, then maybe people might be more inclined, but that's their model.
To be fair, Chairman, they did hit the electricity cable coming into my house, and they got Western Power out within 24 hours.
Okay. Okay. All right, then.
I didn't realise it was the previous day it had happened. They thought it was been done immediately.
Okay. Cricket Club, I think we're going to pick up that later on. There's some action, some bits around that, the Labo survey, but we've got that coming in the agenda. Okay. Anything else from the regular November meeting? Okay. Thank you. Right, I'll attempt to share the second set. Okay. Now the minutes of our extraordinary meeting on the 23rd of November. Does anybody have any comments on these minutes? Okay. In that case, can I have a proposer and a seconder? Peter, propose that we accept those minutes. Somebody wish to second that. Okay, Pete, Paul, were you at that meeting? You were, weren't you? Yeah, that's fine. So, yeah, proposed by Peter, seconded by Paul. All those in favour, we accept those minutes. Yeah. Great, thank you. You've got that, Anita?
Yeah, actually, did we have a proposer and a seconder for the? Oh yes, we did. Yeah,
I think it was Peter and John.
Get it? Yeah, yeah, get it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's just go through the matters arising and actions from that meeting. Okay. So obviously, we reviewed the big thing was the double yellow lines. I think we've got it back on the agenda tonight, haven't we, Anita? Obviously, I marked up that map and sent it to you. I know it was only a couple of days before the deadline. Apologies.
It's just that we had put it on the, you know, on the notes, it had got added to the December agenda. So even though you sent that through, I thought I'd better put it on just in case you wanted them approved before they were sent off.
Okay. All right. Well, okay. We can cover it off again briefly. Yeah, Stone Pit Land, obviously the land registry. So Terry, yes, thank you. You came back with some thoughts for us. Thank you. And I think, yeah, I got a note from you today. You're going to get tucked into that very soon, aren't you? The
yes, indeed.
Stone Pit. Thank you for that. Yeah, very difficult elephant to eat in many bites. Thank you. Okay. Ken signs. Aha. Agree design for additional village signage. I've got Peter Moat on the hook. I must confess, folks, I know that we wanted a modification and I took this action, but I can't remember what it was. I know I've got from Peter the size of the signs are 300 mils by 400. That's his proposal, but he can change it. Peter, you might be able to enlighten me.
One of the points that was flagged was the reference to 44 car parking places,
right?
Because there was the note that once if the car park extension was to take place, then that number would no longer be a valid number.
Okay.
So we did, in general terms, say, well, we should be directing people to the parking. It wasn't necessary to say that there's a certain number.
Fine. So just to expedite that, are we happy then? Oh, sorry, Anita.
No, I was just going to say that is on the agenda.
It is? Okay.
Yeah.
We'll cover that off as well very quickly. Now, what isn't on the agenda, I don't think, is this notice board, and we do need to sort this out now. Anita, you've obviously contacted the company over the notice board. You've told them the seal's gone. We said it was health and safety liability, but they've not come back with anything very encouraging, have they, Anita?
No, the email again that I picked up since I finished my CBC stuff, I logged on this evening to obviously the Geddington stuff. Because I didn't go on the computer till quite late, I haven't actually, I haven't read it through myself. I think I forwarded it to everybody very quickly.
Yeah.
But I haven't actually read it. I skim read it, so I didn't read it thoroughly.
They are, okay, sorry, Peter.
No, perhaps I was going to do the same as you and outline what it said.
Go on, Peter, if you wish, yes.
Which essentially was, they were very confident in their design. They've sold many thousands to that design in the past. They don't believe, therefore, there's a problem in design or manufacture. They would come out and review it, but if there was, if it confirmed that there was no problem with the equipment, it was a problem of how it had been used, then there will be a charge for that. They did say that they would also look at upgrading it or changing it to one that has the 2 doors on, but we'd be expected to pay the difference in price between the 1 door and the 2 door. But he was at great pains to point out that he's working on his own due to COVID, and they wouldn't be able to get out this year anyway.
Okay. Go on, Anita.
That's not correct what he's saying anyway, because he's basically saying it has to be locked properly, and that's why the backing started to go, and you know, all the condensation, that's just a load of rubbish. You know, it's just the condensation started as a result of the seals being faulty. So I'm sorry, I just don't agree with what he's saying.
No. So we've got 2 issues. What are we going to do in the medium term? What are we going to do in terms of the immediate action around that notice board? Because clearly it's not going to be fixed or changed or amended until the new year, and that's hoping. And we resolved last time to put it out of action if we weren't going to get an immediate response. And I strongly suggest it's now been 3 weeks since that. So I can't see any reason not to put some hazard tape on it tomorrow, which I'm happy to do, to tell residents effectively do not use. That, I mean, that doesn't fix the issue, but I'm suggesting that as the first resolution.
I think it's necessary as a reaction to the current as is, that we react to that. And one way of reacting to that is to a concern of Anita's was, well, if members of the public go and put their own notices in there, it can fall on them. She's a little bit more aware of it. So we do need to, in some way, identify that it should not be used by members of the public.
I think actually the people that usually put the notices on, they are all aware of it, because it's so difficult to get the catches undone. Then you have to have 2 people there to hold it up because the perspex is just so unstable. Then you have a job locking it up, and I think everybody else has given up trying to use it because there's no other notices going on there at all.
I think it's more important to take the sort of action that Nick's suggesting there.
Yeah. Oh,
to cover us, that we are demonstrating that we're aware there's a problem and that it should not be used. I'm not talking about just covering our own backs on it, but I think it is sensible that we can demonstrate that we did take action.
Yeah.
So but as a medium term, because we actually need a working notice board, do we take them on their offer and ask them to come out and visit, which might be chargeable, but otherwise we're not going to get anywhere else. And I suggest that if they do, they meet with one of us. I'm happy to meet them. And whoever meets them argues the case to say this hasn't been abused, it's just fallen out. The seals have gone, it's made the back wet. This perspex has not been glued in properly, it's all warped. Does that, I mean, I'm just saying that.
I agree with that, Chair.
Yeah. So does everybody agree with that course of action?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's recognising the as is again. You know, it's the only course of action that's open to you.
Yes, it is. So Anita, please ask them. Yes, please come and visit.
Yeah.
We appreciate it may be chargeable, but they'll need to meet with one of the parish councillors who can show them the board and can demonstrate it's not been abused.
And it's not as though it's in a particularly vulnerable position. I mean, we're not in the top of the Peak District or something like that. So, you know, there's parish councils in other areas, should have notice boards, perhaps provided by them, that actually withstand the weather. It's ridiculous.
It is.
Right. Unfortunately, that's the point that they're also saying in their email of tonight. Just the same thing, that we sell thousands of these and we don't get these problems. And that's why they're suggesting, I'm not saying that they're right, but that's why they're arguing that it's due to some aspect of misuse, the fact we haven't been closing it up properly. Again, I'm not saying that that's right. I'm saying that's what they're saying.
Well, we'll see what they say. I mean, there's only so many ways you can open and close a Perspex screen. Okay, thank you. All right. Action 4, we've got another action 4. This was in relation to the graffiti, which Mark Byers and others thankfully cleared up. And did you get a note across to Mark and family?
Yes, I did. Yes,
Right.
there's one gone to them.
Okay. And I think we have added it to the December agenda as well.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. In that case, unless anyone has anything else, I think that's concluded the actions from those 2 meetings. Thank you. Okay. Right, splendid. Right, finance, please. I'm going to stop sharing for a bit so we can see everybody. Right, finance, Anita, please.
The balances, the bank balances at the moment stand at £46,931.07 as at the 17th of November. And have I not got the other one? I actually haven't put the business account down. It's exactly the same as at last month. Oh, here it is. Yeah, I thought I had. The business premium account, £10,779.94. For some reason, they didn't send a statement through, but I got them from the online. I sent the list round for invoices that need to be paid. There was the post repaired by the entrance to the recreation field that Peter did. That was £3.47. Sorry, you'll have to excuse me, I'm still a horse. And then the graffiti cleaning tools that were bought by Mark Byers, that Mark reinvested, that Mark gave him the money for. So we actually owe Mark Rowney the money for this, which was £21.04. And then also for Mark, the invoice for the hardware for the repair of the berm gate, that berm gate lock that Mark carried out, which was £19.91. And then just 2 or 3 days ago, the invoice came in for Labo Sport for the cricket boundary risk assessment site, which site visit, which was and report, which was £480. So that's all the invoices.
Anybody have any comments or questions on his invoices?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm trying to find something on my other computer, so I might have misheard. Did Anita say that we paid the £400 for the second Labo survey?
No, the invoice has come in for it. It hasn't been paid yet.
But sorry, yeah. So the second survey referred to in the Labo Sport reports been carried out, has it? I see the 250 one has been done, but I didn't know that the 400 one has been done.
Sorry.
I think Peter will come in there.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
We at the last meeting, it was agreed that we wouldn't do the 251, which was a desktop survey where we would take the measurements. It was agreed to upgrade it to the 400 one. So the only report that's been done is the 400 plus.
I see. I misunderstood, Peter. I took it that the 250 had been done and was inadequate. So I now understand. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Terry. Any more questions or comments on those accounts for payment? Right. In that case, can I propose then that we pay those accounts? Anybody wish to second?
Yep.
John, thank you. All those in favour?
Just for clarification, can Mark and myself abstain from this?
I was going to say I'm abstaining.
Okay.
Yes, I must abstain.
All those in favour, just please hold your hand again, please, if you don't mind. We have 2 abstentions. Thank you very much. I'd like to recall my thanks actually to Peter, Mark, and actually any councillor who pays out their own pocket and reimburses. Thank you, because that is above and beyond, and also goes and does the work. So thank you very much, gents, for those. Right. Okay, so item 4C, any further issues to be discussed relating to sign off for the budget for 21 to 22 and the precept decision in January 2021? We had a pointed but hearty discussion on this, and I don't think there was anything too controversial. David, do you want to say anything in summary?
No, we have to make the decision next month. It was really just a question if anybody had any things that they wanted to raise, so that we don't spend too much time next month.
Okay.
But if there's nothing, that's fine.
I don't believe there is. So, okay, well, thank you. We'll certainly have that final discussion next month. Anyway, if nobody has anything to particularly ask now, thank you. 4D, insurance. Do we obtain more than one quotation for the next 3 years? So, Anita, what was it? We usually go for 3 years. Last year, we decided to just go for 1 year.
Yeah.
And I think it's crept up on us again to make a decision whether we go to the market or not.
That's right. Yes, we went for just the 1 year coverance for the insurance, just to so that we could go delve a little bit deeper this year if we wanted to. The insurance isn't due until, well, the Zurich insurance, it starts on February the 6th next year. So we've got a good month and a half to get it sorted.
Yeah, these people, Cayman Partners, where do they come from?
I've seen something, I don't know whether it was something that SLCC sent through or whether it's been because I get so many sort of basically trying to get you custom. I think I'd save this one because it said that they use 3 different insurers. So I didn't know whether it was sort of like an insurance broker. Like you can go for an insurance broker and they've got a field of companies that they get their quotes from. I don't know, but I've definitely seen it on one of the official things we sent through, which is why I thought it was a reputable company. But I don't know, because it's been a year now since I saved it, you know, as an insurance link.
But Chairman, I think I would be inclined to make an inquiry of them to see what they could do to help us. It doesn't seem to me that Zurich are desperately keen to answer our questions. Who knows? We might find that there is an advantage in switching. But it's certainly worth an inquiry.
Sorry to interrupt you, David. Yes. So I was just going to ask, and sorry if I missed it. When does the current policy expire, the exact date?
February the 5th.
February. So if we were to obtain a quote from these people at least, plus anybody else, we have January to make that decision, don't we? If they can come back to us and they can be informed that there is a deadline that we would need that.
I think the important thing, Chairman, also is that it's an opportunity, because I can't remember the last time we actually updated Zurich on what assets we have, what the issues are. If these people specialise in parish councils, they might raise with us risk issues or cover issues that we're not even aware of.
Yes, and mitigation activities and forms and things like that. I mean, we obviously started that work. Adrian kicked off some bits. You know, we've got a register. We've got our register of assets is pretty much complete. We've debated that long and hard. So yeah, I think we're in a good position to give them what they might need.
Yeah.
So Anita, that might need a little bit of dialogue back and forth. I know we're just about to approach Christmas season. Is that something that could potentially be initiated beforehand and say to?
Yeah, I mean, the questions that they'll send out, I'll probably have to send them around to everybody because I won't know the answers to all of them.
And that's fine, Anita, absolutely fine. You know, we know what that's for. We might save some money. We might get some more comprehensive cover. Or let's say the bit David touched on, I'm interested in is, will they give some general advice on how we mitigate some of the risks? Well, they say, well, as a parish council, in our experience, these are the 5 things where parish councils come a cropper. And that might resonate. Some of those might resonate with us. So,
yeah.
You know, it's not just about saving money. It's about potentially, you know, better practice. So if we could, I'd appreciate that.
Yep.
Are we rushed to try and find a third quotation as well? Or are we happy to compare the 2 that we will no doubt get?
Well, I think that it looks from the information that was sent round as if they actually do that anyway. And we have a measure with Zurich as well. I wouldn't have thought there was much to be gained from
okay,
a further one.
All right.
And it's below £1,000 anyway, so we don't have to.
Okay. Well, that sounds like a decision. Okay, then. So the proposal is that we obtain that extra quotation as well, and then we'll obviously compare the like for like at the January meeting. Can I have a seconder? Mark, thank you. All those in favour? Thank you very much. That's unanimous. Splendid. Thank you. Great. Let's move to planning then. 5A, any decision notices?
Yeah, we have 2 decisions. The first one is 48 West Street, and that was a sort of gym area at the back of a garden in the conservation area and within proximity to a listed building. And that's been approved subject to some planting on the south side to obscure the view. So that's gone through. And the second one is 17 Queen Street, and this is that mock Gothic house, I think is that's set back off the street, and that's all been approved as well without any extra bits. So yeah, those 2. So now the next thing is the one planning application, and I haven't got any of my notes.
You need to try and share my screen, Claire. It might prompt something.
Yeah, 18 Wood Street. It's quite a rundown property on quite a substantial plot. And I think it's the proposal is to demolish the property, which is like a 2-bedroom. I think it's a bungalow actually, and rebuild another. Well, I can't remember if it's 1 or 2 bedroom. It didn't look very big on the existing footprint. Accessing through from the house next door was they are the new property owners.
Yeah.
It doesn't have its own private driveway at the moment. Yeah. This piece of land.
The property they're looking at building is double garages downstairs and single living accommodation over.
Strangely.
It's this one, isn't it, Claire? I'm now sharing on the screen.
Yes, that's the one. Yes. Yep. Yeah, and it's got no sort of historical significance, I don't think, this house.
Am I right in thinking this house here has been turned to something else, or have I got this wrong?
It's white now. No, it's not. It's purple now. It's been developed. That's quite an old picture.
Must be a very old street view, yes.
Yeah.
It's a 3-story high rendered building now.
That's right, with sort of doors opening onto the front, and they plan to access this property from in front of theirs, sharing a driveway.
Sorry.
I am confused by this whole thing. Why you want a double garage and then just have one bedroom upstairs? Why you'd need 2 cars in the one bedroom even?
Because the applicant is actually the owner of that detached property.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, that's
So they're the ones that are applying for this. I don't know if they've actually bought it yet, or whether they're applying for a planning application in advance of buying it. But certainly from the plans, it looks like it's their intention to have their garaging with living accommodation over access from their own property.
so they're not intending on having this as a separate property. They just want to extend their existing property into
That's
it.
the way that it way that it looks.
Yeah, yeah, I can see what you mean now. Yeah.
The only comment that I had about it, other than the very nature of that as a development on a plot, is the fact that they do want, again, to have this all timber clad. Now, the area at the moment is quite a fruit salad of finishes. There's old stone, there's new red brick, there's in fact, if we skim around there, you can see there's old stone. Then obviously there are the sheltered accommodation grey brick, and we go around a bit further, and there's I think the next one is a darker coloured brick. So there are a lot of different surfaces or finishes in that area at the moment. Red brick over there on the left. At the moment there isn't any timber clad there. It's questionable whether whether another variation of surface in the area is significant, but that was the only thing that stuck out to me. I personally wouldn't have because of the range of surface treatments that are in that area, I wouldn't have seen it as particularly contentious.
If I'm particularly mistaken, isn't the detached house to the left as we look at it, isn't that timber at the top anyway?
What? I didn't quite catch that, Paul.
So the top of the detached house, that's timber anyway, isn't it?
Is this one?
No, it's all that's rendered all the way up.
Yeah, this has been completely demolished, Paul. It's a brand new house now.
Oh, okay.
Quite space age, actually. So again, as to use Peter's phrase, fruit salad, there's another citrus right there. So I see what you're saying, Peter, that it is a bit odd, but then there is nothing standard there at all.
No.
I suppose there's a couple of things. There's to reprise Clive's point of surface drainage. If this is going to be a garage, obviously there's going to be more paved areas. It's on a slope, and it's going to slope. So at the moment, this all soaks away into the soil. Anything then falling here is going to soak all the way down the drive and come down.
Well, that is the area which floods really easily. So when I used to walk my children home from school, I would avoid that path if it'd been raining. It's the slightest bit of rain, you have a big pool at that area where these driveway is.
The application does address foul water and surface water drainage, and I thought that it said both of them were going to municipal sewers.
Yeah, I saw that.
But I think that wasn't one of Clive's points as well, that actually it's just adding to more water even into the drainage system of Wood Street as well. So it's not just the surface area, but if it does all properly go into a drain, it's adding more stress there, so to speak. Whereas actually you've got a great big garden at the minute, it could just soak down.
Yeah.
It's a good point. The counterpoint might be that I suppose that house where it is at the moment, you would actually expect the kind of drainage from gutters to go into the kind of the sewer system, regardless of how it's developed, or even if it were to be left alone as it is. The fact that it might not have gutters at the moment is possibly more because it's dilapidated rather than anything else. I don't know, but I think to take the theme of Clive's point and what Claire just said, being local, we've got to be mindful of this additional water, which at the minute goes down and is now going to join in going down this slope into here. The
Is this not one of those that you could say, Chairman, that, you know, whilst we would not object to the development, we are mindful of the impact on water, and would recommend that there be some sort of alternative water disposal.
That would
Surface water.
that would fall under the option of response, which is no objection, subject to.
Yes.
That would be our subject to a satisfactory drainage system.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is an example of where local knowledge is really, really important, because the officers may not know this in detail. We need to point this out. And particularly given what Clive has mentioned today and then Claire, we know that this area has a particular problem and we don't want to add to it.
No.
I don't even think there's a drain that side of the road. It doesn't. It was always, we always wondered if it was a block drain, but I don't think there is even a drain there. So it just pulls at that.
Is that there? Is that not one just south of the dustbin?
So I was trying to get this
I think it's
oh God. Just a minute, sorry about this.
Further down where it pulls.
So where does it pull, Claire? Further down?
A little bit further down, more at the junction. This side, this
around here.
Yeah, a bit higher up, I think. So it is right by that's it, round there. Yeah.
Okay.
And he's directly sort of by that property.
It's an interesting point.
Yeah.
Then.
Yeah,
So you'd always cross over there. So.
Just to point out, there was a drain between the grey bin and that telegraph pole.
Yeah. But this is a bit lower down. This is where the camber of the road drops down. Just around about there, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So
I suppose one positive is there's less traffic coming out here as it prospects. Sorry, go on, Peter.
All I was going to say, that could we not say therefore that our I keep thinking I see a drain in front of their driveway, by the way, every time we go around. Can you just pan around to the right and look back down the road?
What, that there? Is it just
no, round to the right.
Something there?
Just go,
yeah.
Just drive down the road a little bit. There's one on the right, we can see that obviously.
A bit further?
What is there just there on the left? Just
beyond the
driveway. There's a no, sorry.
There?
The other side of their driveway. There.
So,
yeah.
Yeah, it's out of focus.
Looks like a patch of tarmac, doesn't it?
It's not. I'm not getting it. Oh, hang on.
No.
It doesn't look like a drain. It does look like tarmac because there's a drain there. Look.
Yeah. Well, could I suggest then that we, unless we have anybody that's got a view contrary to it with respect to the development of the property, could we not propose that we have no objection subject to a suitable treatment for surface water? Recognising and putting in the note that as the parish council of the area recognise that it is an area currently prone to flooding, and any treatment, any development of that area should reduce that and certainly should not increase it.
I'm happy to second that, Peter.
Yep.
All those in favour? Thank you. Abstain? Against? Great, thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Right, that's it.
Okay, thank you, Claire.
Can I just ask, Chairman, when is the caravan site planning application due to be heard?
Pass. Just Claire on site about that.
It wasn't mentioned in my chair's brief this afternoon. The planning application for on the main road is some months away yet because there's issues. But the caravan one wasn't mentioned.
Right. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Correspondence received and circulated. Anybody have anything to highlight on that? I think we mentioned, did we mention in the last meeting about Rachel resigning from Boughton? I think we mentioned it in the last meeting. Yeah. And I just picked up this be part of the census for 2021. Is that anything we think we need to be concerned about?
We don't have a choice. I think it's just encouraging us to get people involved.
Yeah.
Whether it's something you might mention in your newsletter.
Yes.
It was very much focusing on the fact that this was going to be not just because of COVID, but because of advances in general, that they did want as much of this to be done as an online
Yes.
census as well, which obviously is, for us with a village with elderly residents may not necessarily be the easiest way, but it does say that they would have still the opportunity of a conventional form filling.
So, right.
It
So
might be an idea, Chairman, to ask if anybody would like assistance, to let us know.
Okay. I can mention that in the next piece. Or Paul, it might be something that actually you want to do a small article on separately for the newsletter. I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to. I think it's important that it's highlighted. Yeah, very well. Yeah, I'm happy to do that. That's fine.
Okay, thank you, Paul. Okay, right, social housing consultation for discussion and comments. Councillor Padwick, I believe you looked at that.
I have looked at it, and I've apologised. I only sent the summary of what I think is relevant last night, but it is, I mean, it's a big document and it's a very important document, but I do think our point of view on it is really limited to the few points that I've put into that one page, and that's, I was very pleased to see that they're looking to help people who want to downsize their properties, because there are a number of properties where historically one person is occupying a 3 or 4 bedroomed house, and it would be useful if they were given priority to move to a smaller property. That's there, and the other, so that's the downsizing. And the other issue was local connection, making sure that some preference is given or considered when social housing is allocated, either council housing or social housing which is operated by housing associations. So there are 3 points there that I've made as comments, which I would suggest we might want to use as our response rather than to fill in the questionnaire. So one would be that we'd support the draft policy in relation to encouraging people in 2, 3 or 4 bedroom properties to downsize by giving them some priority and preference. And that the second point, we support the draft policy in relation to giving reasonable preference to those with a local connection or those who contribute to their communities. And also, because I noticed that it doesn't actually refer to local parish councils, but I think we might want to ask them to include us in consultations on developing local lettings policies that relate to our area. So those are the 3 areas, and I mean, I guess you could use those comments almost directly.
Mm-hmm.
Very succinct. Mark.
Thanks, Chair. Declaring interest as the portfolio holder at KBC for housing. So I'll abstain from the vote, but just to point out that the first 2 points are already in the current housing policy. It's not new. And also the last point, this is the consultation. So this is the document. There's no future development of local policies. This is it. Because there's 120 odd villages. So if we've got a different policy for each village, it won't work. So the policy is already in there for villages. of local housing needs.
So in fact, that could be changed and amended to the parish council are pleased to be included in.
Okay. Thank you, Mark. John, look, thank you. It seems very sensible what you've suggested in terms of proposed points, and yeah, if you're happy to the third one's amended that way, yeah, we just thank you very much for consulting with us. We continue to do so. Seems like a succinct set of points. Does anybody have any more comments on these?
Obviously, there's loads more in the document, yeah. But I wanted to look at it from a parish council point of view, really. And
you're right, John, because this is, again, from a resident's perspective, this is and from a parish council perspective, these seem to be the salient points.
Yeah.
Okay. Does anybody have any more on this?
I was pleased to thank John for doing it for us.
Sorry, three speaking at once. Who's first?
Sorry, Chairman. I was just pleased to see that there wasn't a lot of emphasis given to families with children, because that's one of the issues, I think, from the village of families coming in with children and putting pressure on the school.
Okay. Right. Okay. Well, if we I'll propose then that we send the return back with those 2 points and the third one as edited.
Yep.
Okay. Does anybody wish to second that? Peter, thank you. All those in favour? Thank you. And abstain? Thank you. Against? Thank you very much. Thank you, John, for that piece of work. Much appreciate it. Oh, I think I've just put something down. Right. Oh, environment. Well, we have a lot of things under environment, but we may have touched a few of these already. Item 8A, the footpath project. Volunteered to take over the work started by Sue Wenborn. I must confess I probably missed. I'm not sure about a specific project rather than the portfolio, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, Anita sent us the email, but it didn't refer to anything, and I wasn't aware of anything. So it was asking if anybody was likely to or be willing to pick up the project, but I have no idea what the project may be, or I mean, there was no detail about anything.
I think it's just the kind of, you know, the kind of responsibility, isn't it?
She was talking about the portfolio.
Yeah, I think so. So I suppose the question is, does anybody wish to pick up footpaths? I think we have footpaths and lighting together. And it was interesting that which Doug raised. Whilst we don't necessarily have to, because we are a little bit short of councillors at the moment, I don't want to lump responsibilities there when there may not be that much to do. Put another way, would anybody care to lead with something that has become a bit of a tradition, which is a walk around to potentially identify any and all lights that are out and try and hit in one go? Is a potential alternative to that.
I'm happy to take that on from a footpath point of view. I'd need some kind of additional information, but I'm happy to take that on.
Well, thanks very much, Paul. There, that'd be really helpful. Good, thank you.
Could I just chip in, Chairman?
Yeah.
Doug took that on in the past, and he's obviously still interested in the council. Maybe he would voluntarily assist Paul and whoever else was doing it. It might be just worth a phone call or something. He's a pretty good-hearted sort of guy.
The last one was John, Sue, and myself.
Oh, sorry, I apologise. I apologise.
That's fine. Doug, I'm sure, was historically involved, but the last one was, that's why I was keen to see John back.
Okay, but yeah. Well, if we're short of hands, Doug might just help us out, mightn't he?
Yeah, I agree with everybody, Terry. I agree. Doug's obviously extremely good egg, very helpful, very knowledgeable. Yeah, I hope to catch up with him soon. We are getting low on numbers, and Doug's great value and very helpful. But yeah, Peter and John obviously and Sue work together. So Peter and John, if you just don't mind reaching out to Paul next few weeks, just to mentor him slightly over what the things he might want to look at and that, and just bring them up to speed a little bit, just informally, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Be really helpful. Thank you.
I'll copy what we had last time.
Yeah. And like I say, I think that walk around might be quite useful. So again, it's just a walk around, identify any lights that are out. We normally do that around October, November, don't we? We're slightly late this time. Anita?
So is Paul going to lead on the footpaths or footpaths and lighting?
Happy to do the footpath and lighting as a whole. That's fine.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. That's much appreciated. Thank you. Okay. Sorry, just to go back to it, Paul, would you mind leading a walk around when you're free one evening?
No, absolutely. That's fine.
Yeah, just let all of us know. And often there's 2 or 3 people who love to come along as well. And we just go around identifying that are out. As we've said, we do try and encourage residents to report these things, but it doesn't hurt for us to have a walk. Mark.
Thank you, Chair. There is a walk around on Saturday evening that's going to go around every street if Paul wants to join in. I've got an elf outfit he can wear.
I'm not entirely sure I'll fit in it, Mark. That will be the problem.
Yeah. But there's a walk around already, so I'm going around that. So I'll point any. I know of 4 lights out already that I've got to report, but I'm happy to do a quick recce then if you want, Paul.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. If you pick anything up, if you let me know, and then.
Yeah, no, that'd be brilliant, Mark. Thank you. And again, you might just advise Paul on how he reports that, and then up and away he goes. Brilliant.
But you're after somebody to help pull the sleigh.
Right. So item 8B, street lighting in Chapel Lane. Complaint received by KBC street lighting officer. Now, I'll confess I think I've read the collated emails, Anita. You told us to ignore the 4 emails. I've read the collated ones, and I'm a little confused by who's saying what. If I've got it right, there is a street light on Chapel Lane not working. Seems to be attached to a house, powered by the house, but it's not anymore. It's not lit. Nobody's happy. Is that about it?
That's it. And the officer at KBC, what he's saying is that there needs to be a policy of this because it's going to arise in other circumstances, and we need to know what we do in these cases where basically the resident was paying the electricity bill for it. The electricity is being disconnected. Do we go ahead and get it reconnected back up with a separate meter or what? So that's what I believe he is saying, basically, in a long roundabout way. That's what he's saying.
Peter.
I mean, it doesn't make it that clear because I had to send out taking names out because, that's why it looks a bit messy when I had to send the email trail out. It's not that clear now.
No, thank you. Peter, then David, please.
Yeah, I couldn't pick out from, and I did read the ones that we were supposed to delete, and then I did read the summary, and from neither of those email chains could I actually work out what anybody was asking us to do. It seemed like there was an exchange of mails between a resident and an electrical company and KBC, and they were trying to involve us. Now we have to be very cautious about the fact that we have not accepted responsibility for streetlights, and if we start wading in saying, "Oh well, yes, let's have this done or that done," I don't believe that it's necessarily our responsibility. But I didn't see anything within that chain of correspondence that was asking us to do that. I didn't see any action that was, Parish Council, will you do something?
Okay, that's a good point. Sorry, go on, Anita, then it's David, then Mark.
Yeah, I have said because he was phoning quite a bit, I have said on each conversation I've had with them that the street lights, they're not owned by the parish council, they're not our responsibility. And each time, you know, he says, well, they're your responsibility, it's just KBC doesn't work for you. And I say, they're not the parish council's responsibility. I think he still thinks that he's got to involve the parish council in everything because they're our street lights and our responsibility, despite the fact I keep telling them they're not.
Okay, interesting. David.
Yeah, I mean, that was essentially my point, Chairman. It seemed to me there are two issues. One, do we need a street light there? And if we do, who puts it there? And it certainly wouldn't be right for the resident to continue paying for the electricity. That's ridiculous. So it seems to me if we want a street light there, then the lighting authority, which is Kettering Borough Council, should fix it.
Seems sensible. Mark.
Yeah, the lighting authorities, NCC, it's not KBC. Although that's, I mean, come March.
Well, this goes back
that's
to the
relevant.
old...
March, it's irrelevant. But it's definitely NCC. KBC repair them on NCC's behalf.
Yeah.
So reading the email trail, it seemed to me that he was just he was giving us the information. He wasn't like Peter said, he wasn't asking for anything in there. He was just telling us that's the problem they've got with why there's no street light in Church Lane. That the power's been disconnected and they're waiting on the power company to put it back.
So yeah, I mean, for me, then all this boils down to is there was a street light in that road, in that jitty. It was deemed necessary because it was there, not by us, but by, let's say, by at the county level. Some poor resident's been funding it. They're not doing it anymore. Well, then surely the county lighting, the responsibility sits with them to get it metered or otherwise connected and powered back up. Peter, then Paul.
Sorry to interrupt, but just one specific point about that one light from Facebook. About 18 months ago, it was replaced because the people living opposite at the time were complaining about how bright it was and it was shining into their bedroom windows. And if you look at the top half of it, somebody's been out and put black gaffer tape, black ducting tape over the top of it to cut down the amount of light that went into that house. But it was changed from an older illuminating light to a newer one. And that was done, as I say, within about the last 18 months. So somebody has accepted responsibility for it. And then subsequent to that, there's been this electrical upgrade of a consumer unit that's cut out the power to it. But somebody, by definition, the fact that they've already replaced it, somebody else has got the responsibility for it and acknowledges it.
Paul, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I think it's also worth noting that I believe that's not the only household which pays for a street light. So when I was living at 36 West Street, when I was living there, I was paying for the street light there. And I believe there's another one further down West Street, which is linked into the residents' electric as well. So I don't know how prevalent it is throughout the village, but it's obviously only...
Yet another reason for us not to get involved in it.
Well, my concern is this takes us back to the old problem, isn't it, of the contract for street lighting.
Mm. So where are we talking on Chapel Lane?
Sorry, there's two. There's one that's right at the end that you can see standing up there.
Yeah,
that's
it. See that?
Is
it that one?
No, that's not the one that's being put into the photographs. The one that's in the photographs, if you put your finger up vertically from where you are now, just go up and just left very slightly. That's where the one is that is, and by wonderful shot there, by the way, it's like a TV program that was. That's where the one is that's being fed from inside the person's house. So in their email chain, they actually had a photograph of that. And as I say, it does, the photograph in the email does show the black tape across half of it. And I think it's from not knowing the person, but I think it's the resident of one of those houses just underneath your hand there that is the one who's complaining about how dark it is in that area. And saying, yes, this light that's been disconnected is needs reconnecting.
So that resident's got a general concern. I understand that, but why? But now we've got an engineer who says it's our problem. Where is it not his problem?
Yeah, I don't believe it is. I would suggest that since Anita has been copied in with certain correspondence, I think an acknowledgement of thank you for making us aware of the situation, and we look forward to it being resolved. And without washing our hands of it, but put it back to them such that they don't think they're waiting for a response from us on a directive.
I like that, Claire.
Point them in the direction of the county council.
Yeah, sorry, David. Claire was next.
I would also say that actually, if there's already a light right at the end, is it even necessary? There are lots of fairly dark streets, and the street lighting's already quite spaced out. I mean, what's that, sort of 4 or 5 houses there, and then the second one. We don't have that luxury in Chaseview Road. They're much further apart, I would argue. And you do have to carry a torch with you. That's just the nature of it.
Yeah.
The village is quite dark, and you know, there aren't that many street lights about. I would say that that's excessive, 2 in that one bit.
Yeah, I get the one at the end, but I'm not entirely sure why you would have one. And I think my screen's not going as fast as it is, but I was pointing to one here. There's one here in front of the chapel.
Yeah.
And then there's one there as well. I mean, I guess, like you say, if we were to do this survey afresh, would we think you need a light here? I don't think you would. It would just go in everybody's windows.
Well, can we have a look at that on the lighting walk?
Yeah, but again, can I just pull us back?
I know what you're saying, Peter, and I agree. Cool.
Yeah, the resident there is complaining that there has been a street light there in the past. It's no longer working. KBC is saying, oh, well, this is the reason it's not working, and this is what needs to be done about it. We need access to the property to enable us to put a spur in. Well, thanks very much. Keep us up to date. Get on with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't disagree. Does anybody disagree with that course of action? It sounds like a brush off, but it actually isn't. It's giving it to the people who are supposed to deal with it, and it's not us.
It's probably quite important that's done before April, because who knows what happens when we are moving into the unitary. I foresee some discussions around lighting. Interesting ones.
Yeah. Okay, Anita, are you happy to go back with that polite?
Yeah.
Great, crack on note.
Yep.
Great, thank you. 8C, Laboursport UK, the ball strike report. If that was circulated, I must apologise, I've missed it.
It was literally only circulated about 1 o'clock this afternoon, I think, because it only came in today. I was chasing them because I said it was vital that we had it for a briefing at the December meeting. And so there was an issue where it hadn't been sent because, I mean, it's not, I don't want to take it out of context. It hadn't been sent because we hadn't paid for it. I made them aware that, well, that's not the way that a parish council operates, and we're not going to default on it. Can they send me a draft copy? And they sent the copy. That was circulated this afternoon. And I sent it round with an email briefly explaining the significance of it. But I'll bring it forward now because it is well, this report forms the basis of a risk assessment. That's how they head it. And what they've done, they've taken it from the position of the closest wickets to the clubhouse and the existing car park and the proposed car park. Now we're going to see in a little while that there is some correspondence from the cricket club where they've made the point that the new, what I was referring to as new wickets, are newer wickets, but they are not brand new wickets. So I can see that they have been there for a period of time, but they are more recent than the rest. However, the significance of them is not when they were there, but the fact that they are there. And that is what Laboursport have used as the basis for their report. And what they've done in their introduction, they've said that the report is to assess the potential risk of cricket balls surpassing the boundaries of the cricket pitch at Geddington Cricket Club. Laversport Limited has reviewed the site, including distances to ascertain the risk of balls landing in the adjacent areas and advise on the type and level of mitigation recommended to provide a suitable level of protection. It's a very comprehensive report. I'm very pleased with it. And they did exactly what I asked them to do, which was look at the range of wickets that are there within the cricket square and give us the level of mitigation. Here, mitigation is talking about safety measures. Give us the level of mitigation that would be necessary for cricket to be played from each of those wickets, recognising that the newer, not brand new, but newer ones that are closer to the cricket pavilion are, by definition, as well as being closer, they are more likely, therefore, to be knocking balls into areas where people are. So they did exactly that, and recognising that Laversport are the only company that's recognised by ECB for doing this report. That was why we had to use them. But they have a lot of experience in doing it. And what they've identified is that the distance from if we refer to the pitches by number, the first one being the one that is closest to the cricket club, they're number one going further away from the cricket pavilion. What they identified is that without any mitigation at all, they could only use the fifth pitch for junior play. In other words, the fifth wicket. So of these more recent ones, not brand new, but more recent ones that were added, all the first five would be unacceptable for use without mitigation by juniors. And what it says, and this is the significance or the major significance to us, the first 12 of the 14 pitches would be, there would be a risk associated with them if there was no mitigation for seniors. So in other words, all of the pitches other than the last two, because the 12th, 13th and 14th pitches, wickets that are in that cricket square, they would be okay without mitigation measures. Within the design and access statement for the planning application we put in for the extension car park, we'd identified that we were looking at 6 metre high ball strike netting. If the cricket club wanted to use the closer nets, the closer wickets, if they wanted to use the fifth wicket, so as you're looking at that, there's some vague faint ones to the left. There's two very light green ones, then a slightly dark green, then a darker green, and then it goes very light again, and it alternates light, dark across there. So we're looking at the one to the far left. That's identified as wicket. Thank you. That's wicket number one. From there, if the juniors wish to use that, along the boundary to the left of that, which is the one that's in front of the clubhouse, they would need a 12 metre high ball strike fencing. We'd identified when we were looking at the cricket application, just at the bottom end, because we weren't seeing the same problems, because we're not cricket based, we were identifying that we were looking at 6 metres, and that's what we included in the planning application. 6 metres would be fine for juniors if they were only to be using the second pitch along there, but it would be necessary all the way along from below where you've got the cursor at the moment, so just down a little bit from there. No, okay, so essentially you can see the straight line. They've almost got a boundary that looks like straight along there. So slightly further up, I apologise, right there. The whole of that length, plus the length that's underneath those trees, going round to the willow tree that's on the spot on. All of that distance that Nick has just indicated there is the area that Laversport are saying would require ball strike mitigation measures, which could include solid fencing or mesh fencing. And it would only be, now back to those wickets that are in the middle, if we're counting from the left, that's the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th, 11th. That's the first pitch that the cricket club seniors could use if they wish to play cricket on there without the Labotech identified requirement for ball strike protection along the west and northwest boundaries. So essentially what they've given us as a risk assessment report is something that says, without it sounding any more contentious than it has to, but that there is a risk to property and members of the public unless they while they play on any wickets that are closer to the clubhouse or closer to the play area than the one that you're indicating there on the screen at the moment. So we have a situation where obviously the cricket club use a lot more than that wicket. They use all of the ones apart from the end 4, which is only for juniors, and all of that implies or has an inherent risk that we as a parish council, now that we're aware that there's a risk, we have to look at a way forward that protects the members of the public.
Peter, I just want to, before I let everybody else in, I just want to clear up one point. This point was made, I think, last meeting, and I think the cricket club made it, that this is actually a very old aerial photograph, is it not? Yeah. It's old. It's not current, and you see by the state of the football pitch, obviously with the clean lines, that it isn't. But I take it these 11 pitches are where they are on this photograph.
The pitches are where they are, and that actually shows I think 14 if we count from the right hand side. And this was the photograph that Cricket Club have brought forward to demonstrate that my statement that there were new pitches had been added for the juniors was the fact that they're only newer pitches. They weren't brand new. They had been there for some time, and that's what that photograph shows. So I do concede, and when we come to discuss the response from the Cricket Club, I do concede that the pitches have been there for some time, although they're newer, they've been there for a period of time. However, as I said earlier, the fact is not how long they've been there, but the fact that they are there, that the risk comes from their existence, not how long they've existed.
Can I just, I infer from what you said, Peter, and also the report, that if the club play on any of the pitches, this is the seniors, other than 12, 13 and 14, if they play on 1 to 11, they're in breach of the ECB rules anyhow.
It's a fairly complex interrelationship between ECB and their interpretation of risk, or their requirement for risk management. The way that we got involved in this whole ball risk assessment was because it was identified by ECB that the proposed extension for the car park would be in an area where there would be danger from balls.
Yes.
And they said that we needed to do a risk assessment. They then supplied us with their own drawing, which showed actually the risk assessment area was much larger than just the car park. The car park fell almost into insignificance when we're looking at the number of areas, and they identified that the tennis courts, the clubhouse, the existing car park, and even the play area for the children were all in the area where ball strike could happen.
So
we did this as a parish council duty of care to residents risk assessment.
Yeah, and as a result of the inquiry to make as a result of the inquiry relating to the extended car park, etc., to see what we needed to do to be safe and covered, insured, etc., the result of that is that the existing situation is not satisfactory.
It's exactly that.
Yeah, so we discovered that indirectly from our inquiries. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
So it's a problem.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And now, rather akin to the issue that we were talking about previously about parking at the top of Geddington Close, it's a question of, well, you know, we didn't see a way forward on that. We have here a situation that the cliche can of worms that's been opened is the fact that the cricket club are playing on wickets that bring an area of the recreation ground into risk. And that area of the recreation ground is our liability, because we're liable for the recreation ground as a whole with the leaseholders. And we have a duty of care of residents that use the recreation ground for other reasons. It's not just a cricket ground. It's also used obviously for dog walkers, picnickers, children playing in the recreation area, children walking out in front of the clubhouse. So there is I am obviously, because we only got the report earlier, I had an opportunity of reading it. I did circulate it, but I didn't expect that by any means everybody would have remotely a chance to read it. But we do have a significant issue as a parish council with an activity that's taking place on grounds that we lease from Barton Estates.
And can I just chip in one other thing? I can't remember what the height of the proposed fence that we were discussing in relation to the new car park was, but I don't think it was anything like as high as anything between 10 and 17 meters, depending on the pitch that they play on.
No, we when I say we, it's because I was involved in the working group that put the proposal together. We'd identified 6 meters.
6, yeah.
That was a height that we saw in other cricket grounds. It was a height that we felt was suitable for the environment that we were putting it in. And so we'd identified that we felt 6 meters was high enough. It was, again, ECB's response to our estimate of a 6 meter high fence. They said, well, we're not sure that 6 meters is going to be enough. We would require you to have a Labour Sport risk assessment done before the planning application could proceed. And that, again, forced us down this route of opening up all this information that we now have to make a decision on. And when I say now, I'm not saying at this meeting.
No,
I think it's a much bigger issue than we can address within the meeting.
But from pitches 8 down, you're wanting 10 meters or higher, aren't they?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, they actually state that their recommendation is, if I just turn to the correct page,
17, I think.
Yeah, I think so as well.
What they say is that
it's page 7.
The fastest shots, recreational level, will be stopped by a 17 meters high mitigation system. A 17 meters high system will not stop all shots from landing in the area beyond the boundary, but it's believed from the assessment of ball trajectory, it will significantly reduce their frequency. It then goes on to say, in order to almost completely remove the risk of cricket balls landing in the area beyond this boundary, a mitigation system 26 meters high would be required. I mean, we're talking about danger to low-flying aircraft.
Peter, how far are the cricket club aware of Labo Sport's comments or our liaison with Labo Sport?
The cricket club are aware of everything other than the details of this report, because literally only got this report this afternoon, and it is a parish council document, or a parish council funded document.
Sure.
But obviously we do have to open up some form of discussion with the cricket club to see, make them aware of the dilemma that we are faced with.
Have they recognised the legitimacy of Labo Sport, and had they indicated that they knew that they would have to go along with Labo Sport's recommendations?
Yes, to both of those. I don't think any of us were aware of Labo Sport's existence until ECB flagged it back to us.
Yeah.
But as soon as ECB flagged anything back to us, I did contact the cricket club and said, hey, this is what ECB are saying to us. You saying that everything in the garden's rosy. It doesn't look that way. They're saying that there are risks. and we would have to get this risk assessment done.
Sure. So it is a problem for us, but it's a massive problem for the cricket club that they need to solve.
It can't be overstated, the significance of this report, because again, we don't want to be too emotive about it, but it is saying that the current practice, the wickets that the cricket club play on, irrespective of the fact that these end ones, the newer ones, are only played on by under 11s and under 13s, the juniors, the ball risk strategy says that none of those first 5 can be played on without mitigation. So none of those first 4, the 5th one could be, but only by juniors. And with the seniors, which is, I think, probably the main thrust of the cricket club, no, they can't play on any, or the majority of the wickets they would currently use.
I understand that. What I don't particularly want us to do is to get into conflict between the parish council and the cricket club. Surely the emphasis needs to be, how are you, this is what's being said by the experts. This is something for you to accommodate. We would like to, because we want to see cricket continue in the village. I think we need to be saying that.
Yeah.
How can we help you? Because obviously this needs to be accommodated.
Yes, I strongly endorse that, John, as a route forward. We have brand new information as of this afternoon. We didn't have that information before, so it wasn't available for discussion. It is a parish council funded document, but the affected body is going to be the cricket club, and I would move that we are, in some fashion, we do take this forward to the cricket club for an open discussion, such that we can see how, if nothing else, how they react to the existence of this report. They were aware. I have kept them in the loop politically as much as I can, and they are aware that we are waiting for the results of a survey, and they were aware that Laboursport were doing it and the implications of it.
And another
Sorry,
thing,
Terry, I think David was going to jump in.
Sorry, I don't know how to signal.
Sorry, no, it's all right. David, then Terry.
Yeah, my concern is that I understand why it would be nice for the cricket club to do this work. I think that's highly impractical. I just don't think they have the resources to do it. But if any vehicles got damaged or people got damaged, it's not just the new car park, it's the existing car park, which we own. It's the clubhouse, which effectively we own. I think we would be struggling, and certainly we would need, in the disclosures to our insurers and the possible new broker, we would need to include this as an area of risk, because if, God forbid, somebody got killed by a cricket ball hitting them on the head, I wouldn't want to be in a position where our insurers hadn't been told that there was a potential risk, and having been put on notice, we hadn't taken any action about, and we had considered 6 months previously putting up this netting, and when we're told it's necessary, we back away from it. That would be catastrophic in my view. I mean, Terry, you're the lawyer.
I agree.
I wouldn't defend that at all.
Well, I agree, David. And another thing perhaps which would help the cricket club focus on it is knowing what they know now, or what they will shortly know. I doubt whether they'll be covered by insurance themselves, because if an insurance company was aware of the risk, I mean, we're taking it on board or considering it, then if the cricket club's insurers were aware of this situation, I think they would disclaim liability if anything happened. And so the cricket club may not realise it, that they're paying for insurance that may not cover them in these circumstances.
I think, Chairman, we need to make sure the cricket club are aware pretty quickly, because I have a suspicion that somewhere down the line, the ECB might actually question whether they should be allowed to play on that wicket as it is at the moment.
Can I just add, Chairman? Sorry, I just wanted to add, David's made a very good point. about the ECB. And of course, if the ECB were aware of the situation, they might be criticised if they didn't take some sort of action against the club to make them comply with the. I mean, it's awful, really, because there just isn't enough space. But it's, I mean, most of you know, one of my sons was a professional cricketer and he's now a coach. So, you know, I'm all in favour of cricket, but when you're on the council and considering our personal positions and the potential liability, it brings it, you know, quite close to home to think about it.
So are we suggesting, and and I completely agree, we need to get this report to the cricket club as soon as possible. And what are we going to ask them to do? Are we going to request that, send it to the cricket club, copy in the ECB for transparency, and request their formal response to the points, recommendations made in this report, in conjunction with the rules laid down by the ECB? See, where we sit as a parish council, we have a professional risk assessment presented to us, and that's worried us now. But from an ECB perspective, how much of that has to be nice to have? And I would personally, and I want to come back to Terry on this, what are we asking the cricket club to do? We do need a formal response, but I believe we do need it in the context of what then the ECB states is mandatory and isn't. And we give the cricket club a chance to describe that to us. Does that sound about right?
I think as you hit the nail on the head, Chairman. And I think all the points that you've made, or we've made between us, need to be put to the club. And I mean, it's not going to be easy for them unless they've got some, you know, it's not going to be that easy for a lay person to deal with it. I'm not suggesting they get professionals, that's up to them. But what I'm really saying is they really need to address each and individual item and aspect of it and come back with a report, and in their own interests be pressed to do so. You know, they may come back with something interim dealing with some of the aspects, but if that's the case, then we will have to go back to them and ask them to address each item specifically and come up with responses. It's tough. It's probably not very fair, but it's inevitable. We don't have any alternative, and I don't think the club themselves have an alternative. And if it's referred to the ECB, or if we refer to the ECB and they realise that there's a potential that they might not be able to play in the league or something like that, then that's what's going to focus their minds. It's sad, but it's got to be done.
Yeah, I mean, I think what we just need here is certainty, because we're talking about risk to people, risk to property that we own. We have to take it seriously, but we do have to give the cricket club a chance. So I think we seem to be in violent agreement. Let's get this to the cricket club quickly. Let's ask them for their formal response, but it must be copied into and in conjunction with ECB's own rules, because otherwise it just becomes a local interpretation. I'm not saying I don't trust anybody, far from it, but on something of this magnitude must have a point of reference, which is the national governing body.
Yeah.
And that may well vindicate the cricket club. Great, perhaps the ECB will turn around, or the cricket club will point to certain things which say, well, no, actually, because of this is the context, it's not a problem. But I believe that's what we need to do, and we need to ask them if they don't mind. It's in all of our interests if they could potentially get that formal response back before the January meeting. David.
Chairman, can we get an update on what it would cost to put up a 17-metre high fence along that, netting along that boundary? I think it would be helpful from their point of view. It will be helpful from our point of view. And it's obviously from a budgeting point of view, we need to think about it as well.
Well, we may have to think about it all day. And I think I get your point, David. We might be slightly jumping the gun, but I get your context. Peter, sorry, you were going to speak.
Okay, a couple of things about it. It is the company that we dealt with to get the 6-metre high fence. We could, we as a working group would have contacts with them, that we could go back to them and get an indication of what it would cost. There is also then the aesthetics of how happy are we for a 17-metre high fence along there? But that would be, that would be put before council, and we'd have to have views on it. It would certainly have to go separately before the planning authority because of the height of the structure. So even our 6-metre high was having to go before them because of that. One thing I would say is we are lucky that we're having this conversation in December, where we do have an opportunity of doing something about it. If we were in the middle of the cricket season and had become aware of this, I don't know what we'd be doing. Would we be going along and serving an enforcement notice saying, cricket club, you must stop playing? So as I say, we do have a little bit of luxury that they're physically not playing on there at the moment.
Yeah, no, I agree. But that's why we need to get out all the information we need, because we may end up having to make some very quick decisions.
Yes, I agree with the point that was just made, that we need to react now such that we hopefully can be coming back to our January meeting with response and action that's taken place between these two meetings, rather than coming back and saying, well, we've now had a response and this is what is our next step. I think we need to be trying to move on a few steps as much as we can.
Anita, I suggest then, if you don't mind, if you frame an email to the cricket club, obviously which this report will be appended to, asking them what we really would need them to do and to come back with, and who to liaise with. It might be an idea if you just send that to myself and Peter to check over, just to make sure we've got those points and that terminology. Peter, sorry to nominate you, but I think that's the right thing to do.
Chairman, can I make a suggestion that most people are not going to be doing a great deal between Christmas and New Year?
No.
That might be an opportunity to make some progress with them.
But we're going to strongly suggest, David, that this comes back to us 5 days before the next meeting in January. Yeah. So at least Anita can circulate it.
I agree with that. But I'm just saying that it seems to me logical the week between Christmas is the time to talk to them. Yeah.
So we have some time, but not a lot. And at the end of the day, we can't have this dragging on at the point, meeting after meeting. I think we made the point. We get the report across, we ask for their formal response. It must be in conjunction with ECB guidelines or regulations. We would like the cricket club to explain to us, with reference to the ECB rules, is this mandatory, nice to have? Is it hard and fast? What is that? Because clearly we need something fixed. And I do believe we need to copy in the ECB into this correspondence.
Just ask for clarification, because I couldn't quite hear. Were you asking Peter to do it and copy Anita, or Anita to do it and copy Peter? I couldn't quite hear that. I apologise.
And Anita, would you be able to just draft all of that and send that to myself and Peter so we can check that over?
Yeah, that's what I thought you said the first time. Yeah.
I don't want to add lots of days onto it, but it's important that we get a clear message to the cricket
I'll get
club.
it done this week. Yeah.
And then
can I suggest that there's a reference to insurance cover in the letter as well?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well,
so the club focus. Yeah.
One of the things that is covered by a later agenda item that I'm sure we'll have a little bit of a discussion about, but they have identified that because we queried at the last meeting what level of insurance cover they had, because they had stated that they were not liable and could not be liable for damage to cars, and we read that as that they were essentially saying that was not an area of liability. In their response that's been sent to council, they're saying they do have full public liability insurance in place, and they would make a copy of it available for us if we wished it. I believe that we do need to see it to assure ourselves that exactly those points that you've raised there, Terry, are covered.
So, sorry, are we moving into item D?
No, I was only addressing it there simply because Terry mentioned that our communication should cover insurance.
Yes. Okay.
Chair, before you move on,
yes,
not long enough. Are we just to be clear? Are we asking the cricket club how they're going to put forward to mitigate the risk?
I think we're asking them to confirm whether they agree that this is a risk and what any of these are regulations that they have to abide by. Peter?
Sorry, no, I apologise, Nick. I wouldn't have felt that that was what the thrust that we're looking for. We actually have a risk assessment being carried out by the only company that is recognised by ECB as carrying out a risk assessment. The results of their risk assessment state that without mitigation measures, there is a risk from ball strike if they're playing from certain wickets. Therefore, to sort of address Mark's point there, I think that our thrust is, this is the report that we have been given. What is your reaction? What are your comments? And what are your intended actions?
Exactly.
I don't want to suggest that we're asking them, do you think this is all right? What do you think about this report? This report is done by the professionals that are authorised to issue these risk assessments, and it exists. And it is that we're now looking to resolve the issues within, rather than looking for a second opinion from the cricket club on does it upset you, or do you disagree, or what's your reading of it? The reading is absolutely explicit, and we need suggestions, recommendations, responses that say, well, this is where we're going to move from the as is, which is, you as our landlords are telling us we've got a situation where the cricket wickets we wish to play on actually incur a risk of damage to property and public. So, as I said, I don't think we're asking them. I would strongly recommend that we're not asking them for their view of the report. We're asking them for their intended actions.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I agree. Okay. All right. So if we just move to this, the letter is item D. So again, because we've touched on that with the insurance. Just get this on. So again, in terms of this, so here we go, insurance then. So again, they do have the approach, or they've got an insurance policy. So what was the point on this, Peter? Sorry.
Well, the reason it was discussed at the previous November's Parish Council meeting was that they had said that they would not be. They had said in writing to Anita that they were not responsible for damage to vehicles, car windscreens and things like that. People park in a car park anywhere at their own, sorry, at a cricket ground at their own risk, and that they would not be liable for any damage. Therefore, when we discussed the risks associated with the risk management at the last meeting before we had the survey done, we were concerned that, well, okay, are they covered for public liability? And the question was asked within the meeting. There, they've said they are covered for public liability. So could you just page down again a little bit, just to leave it at the
down
where it's. Oh no, sorry, page up. I should have said page up. Whatever. Show the insurance bit.
Sorry.
That's okay. Sorry. Insurance. Yeah. Stop. Yeah. Their last sentence, we would happily share the policy note and details should any member of the PC wish to see them. I think we as a PC do need to see that they do have the correct level of public liability insurance that satisfies us as the landlords that our property and our residents are covered by public liability insurance.
Yes.
So I think that's something that this letter was to Anita. So I think Anita needs to respond to this specific point of this letter, saying thank you for your offer, and we would like to take you up on the opportunity of viewing the policy.
And that can be within the note we want to send, can't it?
You can structure however you want. Yeah, I mean, we've got two issues. We have a ball risk management. This was more specific to issues that had been talked about at the previous meeting. Okay, then they talk there about adherence to the ECB rules. Well, this is one of the things that we are. It was a point that you were mentioning. What certainly the feedback that the cricket club have given me is that they've since been back to the ECB via Northants Cricket and has said that we understand that our boundaries are under question. We feel that they're acceptable. What is the ruling? And despite the original statement from ECB that the boundaries on the existing boundaries at the cricket club do not meet their requirements, I've been told, but that the ECB are now saying I've seen a document that ECB detail them in, and they've apparently gone back to ECB and said, we comply with the document that states boundary requirements. So ECB, you're wrong in saying that we don't comply to your requirements. But that is very much that's been an issue between the cricket club and ECB. But that's why I think they're saying they are satisfied they're 100% compliant. It would still need to be something that we would be addressing because of the risk management aspect. I mean, we're not obviously interested in how well they comply to ECB rules with respect to boundaries and quality of cricket pitches and things like that. We're focused on the risk minimisation. And if I just may, because it was a point that I alluded to earlier, the next part is the thing that I did want to correct, where they state there's been some miscommunication regarding the addition of extra wickets on the square, and they felt they must clarify the issue. They clarified those extra wickets that I was pointing out were added, but they were added some time ago, and they're saying that it was at least 10 years ago, and that's what the picture that we were seeing earlier supports. So I would like to correct the fact that when I stated they were new pitches, they are not brand new pitches. They are simply newer than the rest of the pitches. But as I said earlier, it isn't the question of when they were created, it's the fact that they exist at the present. And that's why the risk survey has shown that they are a hazard.
Stating the obvious, they may be compliant, but ECB may not have checked. I don't suppose they check every pitch every year. It's not practical. So they may not be aware of these changes and therefore unaware of the fact that we seem to think it's non-compliant now.
Just to clarify, they're saying, our cricket club are saying that the Northants Cricket Association have relayed the ECB view that they actually, on retrospect, they do comply. But that is somewhat third hand. But it looks like they may well comply. But we must be very cautious of the difference between whether the boundaries comply to ECB requirements, which is merely a matter of how big they are, and whether they comply to our requirements, which is how safe they are. Okay. Now, if the entire perimeter of the cricket boundary is a children's play area, for example, ECB may well say, yeah, the cricket boundaries are fine. We would say there's too much risk. And that's the difference between ECB requirements and risk management.
Okay, we need to wrap up soon. Mark, you had a point. You're on mute, Mark.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's the ECB rules is an irrelevance now. It's the risk. So it's pointless arguing whether the cricket pitch is compliant with ECB rules. The boundaries are right. It's that doesn't matter anymore. It's the risk of ball strike.
Agreed.
Yep, agreed.
And that's what we're asking. Okay. Right. Is there any? Sorry, Peter. I mean, this is very comprehensive. Is there any more we need to talk about on this matter before we just move on?
No. Can I have a copy, Chair, of this report? We haven't seen it.
Yeah, we need to circulate this, Anita.
Peter sent it out this afternoon, didn't he?
Yeah. Are you talking about the Labosport?
Oh, the Labosport.
No, this document.
This document. No, that's Anita's. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's send it out.
That's the letter, isn't it, from them?
Yes, please.
I was referring it to because the cricket club chairman sent a copy to me.
Okay, we've got 10 minutes left, but I think we've dealt with all these other earlier items. So the next one is the NCC Key review of parking in Bridge Street and Queen Street. feedback from the emergency meeting. I think Anita circulated the plan again that I marked up. I think I've marked it exactly as we discussed. Unless anyone has any comment on that, I think I'd like to get that sent off.
Agree.
Along with the points. Okay. So Anita, if you could please get that sent off to the to Keir, please.
Yep.
Right. 8F road run on Sunday, April the 18th. Discussion and feedback. So there's a body that wished to. What was it? A cycle, or was it an actual race?
It was sent to me possibly because of the portfolio. I forwarded it to Anita, and I did ask them some questions. It's a new company from Kettering that wanted to run a 10. They're going to want to call it the Geddington 10. They want to run a 10-mile and a 10-kilometre race starting from the cross and going out, and it may involve closing off roads, and obviously they'd be looking to get a lot of people to come to the road run, so there would be a parking issues. They were asking whether we would be in a position to support it. I put it to Anita to put it before the council. It is something I want to stress. It's something I have no relationship affinity with. You know, it really was the fact that the email was addressed to me.
Okay, Mark.
I don't think we can do this in 9 minutes, to be honest.
Right.
We'll have to, I propose we delay it till January.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm happy if we do that.
Agreed.
Okay. Gives us a chance to look at it. Items G, H, I, and J. I genuinely believe we've dealt with these. We've talked about the graffiti. Unless anybody has anything else to say, it was what it was.
I was just asked to put it on the agenda again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Chair, we do. If we put it on January again, because we do need to fix the repairs.
All right then. Right, that'll go for January. H, the parking signs. I think we've agreed that, and I'll get hold of Peter Moat tomorrow, who's literally on standby for that. Giga Clear updates. We've certainly dealt with that, unless there was anything else we wanted to raise. And the Stone Pit land, again, Terry's kind of got his hands around that now. That difficult job. So I think we'll make it an update from Terry at the next meeting. Hopefully, we'll see how it goes. Jump to item 9, Newton.
The only, obviously, apart from Giga Clear, which we've already spoken about, the only issue that I suppose is raising its head is this question of the fencing into the field, which I sent you all an email about. Really, only out of interest. It's you know where the field I'm referring to is, don't you? Where the dovecot is.
Mm-hmm.
Their intention is to fence the path on both sides to stop dogs walking across that field, because they are concerned about infections from dog mess into cattle. I've raised with them the issue of access to the dovecot because it is a protected building, it's a heritage, and they're aware of all the regulations, or they've been made aware of all the regulations that are necessary, because of course Dale Dealshon, who lives next door to me, is a member of English Heritage, and she's very well aware of the issues. So but you ought to be aware that it's likely to happen in the spring.
Okay. Is it going to be wide enough though for distancing, for dog walkers to walk past each other and maintain the social distance?
I have no idea.
Okay.
There is a requirement for the width of footpaths, if they go through a field or if they go around the perimeter of a field, to be maintained by the farmers. And I think across the middle of the field it's 1.5 meters wide, so it wouldn't be COVID requirement compliant. But then again, these regulations go back many years.
Yeah.
But I can absolutely understand why they want to do it.
Is there anything we need to do now, David, or is there more detail coming? Or
No, I don't think there's anything we need to do at all. I just wanted people to know, because it will have an impact, because there's an awful lot of people from Geddington, particularly during COVID, but even general times, walk their dogs out through that area and let them off the lead in that field. And you know they do, because there are horrible little black plastic bags hung on the fences and the gates and things like that, which I think is even worse than leaving them to decay in the field. But, you know.
I mean,
you'll never find a dog owner that says that that's a good idea. And it's unimaginable where the hell they come from.
Yeah.
I think if it's going to happen, it would be good if they put something out on Facebook or in the newsletter or both. I'm not a coward, but I don't want to be the one telling everybody that. I think it needs to come from the landowner and why, and they can explain, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, David. Let's just very quickly, little Oakley, Terry.
No, nothing to report, Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Item 11, any other business?
Well, just a quick one to let you know that the reason I was a couple of minutes late this evening was that I attended the Zoom meeting with the Chief Constable and the police update.
Yes.
I have to say they didn't really add a great deal. Lots and lots of statistics about how well they're doing and how much better everything is, and a lot of stuff about the merger with the fire brigade that happened 9 years ago and how good it all is. Some interesting numbers. If anybody really wants to know, I can give me a call and I'll go through them with you. They're going to buy some new fire engines. I think the disappointing thing was, although they seemed excited, they kept saying it's a really good meeting. There's 50 people attending. If you looked at the numbers on the screen, there were 38 people representing 258 parishes. I didn't think that was particularly impressive, although they seemed to be very impressed by it. But, you know, it's going to happen monthly, apparently, from now on. So, but it's quite scary. There's 3,500 people go missing in this county every year.
It's very scary.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. All right. Well, if they're doing a monthly one, Anita might circulate it, and I wouldn't want to make it mandatory for anybody to go, but it's always good to know. And obviously,
started at 6 o'clock and it finished at 7:30. and nobody was allowed to unmute other than speakers.
Oh, typical. Right. Is anything more, folks, before we bid good night? Right. Thank you very much for everybody's patience and attention. Thank you, everybody.
Mulled wine.
Just coming over there. Oh, everybody, thank you very much. I'm sure I'll speak to most of you, but if not, have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thank you again for all your work and I say your attention and patience this year. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Well, Mr. Chairman.
So all the best to you. And